Welcome back to the Night Shift, your safe space for talking about UFOs, UAPs, NHI, disclosure, the coming X-Files reboot. I think they're rebooting the X-Files. That's what I heard. And everything else that's going on in the world. It's been an interesting week. Pavel's got some interesting news to share later in the show. Something I think you're going to want to stick around for. We've got our very special return champion, Andy from That UFO Podcast, is back with us this week. How you doing, Andy?
I'm good. You caught me unawares there. I was staring off into the distance. like someone at the Disclosure Forum waiting on their award, essentially, like giving them out for most of the show. Well done to those folks.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that. That was
who would you like to thank?
Well, do you know what? I didn't prepare anything, but I'd like to thank the Academy first off for it was a bit much, wasn't it? Yeah, I think we're going to talk about the event, but for the love of Christ,
a bit much, you say?
Did you guys make it through the full thing? Isn't it like it's like 7.5 hours long, right?
Live 2.5 hours. I had stuff to do. Like I had to.
So in my case, I was out the whole day because I was at a thesis defense of one of my friends, so I couldn't be on the dial. I tried to listen to it when I was driving to the event that I went to, and the sound problems were pretty off-putting for me, so I had to take it out. And I was watching a few clips throughout the day, and I do have my notes.
He's got notes. Xander, what was your take? Did you watch the whole thing, or how far did you get into it?
I watched some of it. I'm kind of the same. After a while, and I bearing in mind, I'm particularly grumpy at the moment, and I'm sure Andy probably is as well. It's just too hot to be in a good mood right now.
Yep.
So I'm grouchy right now, but after the second hour, I was feeling like, look, there is nothing new being said here. And I love the fact that the audience gets bigger. Like, with everything that happens, the audience is getting bigger every time. That's cool. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't feel like there's anything new being said right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels like we're kind of going round in circles. The same ideas and the same sort of questions are being asked, with the exception of the one guy from he had glasses on, I keep forgetting his name, but he was excellent. He moderated a debate and he had some great
that dude's from NBC News.
That's the one. Yeah,
just for people who don't know what we're talking about the Disclosure Forum 2026, which was yesterday, just a few hours ago, right? Was it 93,547 views on the News Nation? And can someone walk through what exactly was this intended to be? What was the?
Can I come in on that? Because I was going to ask Clint. Okay, so we've got this forum announced by the folks at the Disclosure Foundation that previously was the what do you call it? I'm being asked to do something here. Mic up.
Yeah,
if I could speak closer, is that okay, Xander?
That's better. Yeah.
Okay. So the folks there, I think people were waiting on hearing them speak generally because they were the Disclosure Fund looking to bring in donations to assist whistleblowers legally, etc. We've then had Matthew Brown and Dylan Borland come forward and say, none of these organizations are giving us any help. We are doing it ourselves. So they had a big question to answer. They've come forward with this forum/event. Now, I think largely it looks like it was pretty well done and it was pretty serious. The audio issues they were also having in the room, so that wasn't just affecting the live stream. I messaged Marek, who was part of the panel that's on just now, and he said, yeah, we're having issues in the room too. So that aside, which does not help, especially a live streaming audience, they got the tone a little bit off, especially early on with, and this is just a personal thing, but I know other folks agreed, the award ceremony stuff was really cringy and embarrassing, and I half expected Jimmy Church to ride Billy Carson onto the stage and start throwing awards out into the audience. We do not need that when you've got experts, lawmakers, scientists, policymakers, guys from NBC, former FBI, all those folks in that room. You don't have to hand out fake awards. And please, if you attend one of these events as a member of the audience, do not whoop and clap all the time either. So again, for me, is this? And I know Clint, you often say this can be entertaining, this can be infotainment, this can be whatever. But what was this event meant to be? Because it seemed like a mix of everything, and I think you have to pick one direction and go full steam ahead with it.
Well, what was it intended to be? I mean, I think that's the part that I'm still confused by. Exactly what was the purpose of the original
I think that's part of the problem. You're highlighting a problem here, Clint, is that it's not clear. Because from what it looks like it's a setup for something that's to come. It looks like we need, to get all these people in a room and start getting them into a room more frequently to sort of lay the groundwork for something. At some point, we need to stop granting sort of granting immunity for events for the cause of just raising awareness, because awareness is getting out there. That's fine, but let's have events that sort of push things forwards in a different way. And I as I said, I like the fact that these things are getting more popular, and there's more people watching online, there's more people in attendance, bigger rooms every time. But at some point we're going to hit that threshold where people stop showing up because they were at the one last year and they heard the exact same questions being asked and the exact same people on stage and the exact same answers being given. And I think that's kind of... I'm personally there already. I don't know if the general public is there as well, but...
They are. Look at the comments.
Yeah, maybe so.
It says, I'm reading one right here. It says, I've just on this one, alien scientists, this is how you know a deep state psyop. They give each other fake awards for their disinfo service. Lou had the chance to disclose real intel. He showed a chandelier reflection. God, it's pretty brutal.
In a nutshell.
Yeah, in a nutshell.
Yeah, we have to decide, who is the new person watching this? Because is everybody in the live chat a ufologist? Have they all been watching for 10 years? Or has somebody just clicked on something they liked the title of? I don't know what audience this is really for at this point. Because everybody... please.
I didn't think it was a bad event. I've not seen the full 7.5 hours. It's good, but I think to partially answer Clint's point, he's asking, what was it meant to be? I don't think they knew what they wanted it to be. Do they want this to be a Contact in the Desert style event, but with really high-end names? They've clearly got the contact booked for it. Or do they want it to be more of a Sol type event where it is a lot less conference style? And it seemed to be a mix of both. And I don't think right now we need that. Now, this event was clearly planned quite a bit in advance. Maybe, and to Clint's point, they had to be a lot clearer on what this is, what it's for, and why it's happening in the first place and what it's going to achieve. It just kind of seems to have fallen in the middle, and maybe that's not their fault, that it's fallen in the middle of a lot of stuff around it. And it's repeating a little bit.
I mean, it says here on the website, this is the Disclosure Foundation website, a serious forum on UAP transparency, congressional oversight, scientific inquiry, and the broader implications of disclosure, convened in the historic Kennedy Caucus Room, where the Senate held the Watergate and Army McCarthy hearings. And the Disclosure Foundation is a nonpartisan, nonprofit advancing the public disclosure and scientific understanding of unidentified anomalous phenomena through policy leadership, legal action, and public education. And then if we go to who's on their board, leadership and advisory board. Here we go. Chris Mellon. Okay. And Jordan Flowers. Interesting. Anna Brady Estevez, Eric Davis, Mike Gold, Avi, Kirk McConnell.
It's
Matt
pretty
Pines.
heavy hitting.
Yeah.
A lot of folks have been involved, especially the last couple of years. Some of the newer names are getting on board with it. But I think this is something I asked on the Patreon for the podcast around. There are so many of these organizations now. Again, it's just everyone's jumping off to their own agendas, their own narratives, and a little bit of coming together would be useful to work towards, because it seems like, what are you all working on different things for?
think part of the problem is everyone has their own theories as to what's going on and who knows what and everything.
I'm pretty sure this group
kinda
knows what's going on. This is the group that knows what's
I would
going
be
on.
willing to bet they do, but it's like no one can seem to agree, and we're in the space of secrets, and no one's willing. It's kind of when people say like it's going to be a case of who's going to show their cards first. It's kind of the same with all of these ilks in ufology right now. Is like there's so many little conversations going on in the background.
Well, if you knew, if you had it on really good authority that this was a done deal and this was a for sure disclosure was going to happen at within a certain window of time, you'd want to get your ducks in a row. And part of getting your ducks in a row is to make sure that the right groups of people are already organized to do the things that are going to be called for in a post-disclosure paradigm. And maybe that is partly why there are so many similarly organized or similar type groups that are being founded and foundations and that type of thing that can suddenly apply for grant money. They can suddenly start to do, I don't know what it exactly will be in terms of the end game, but there would be a ramp up. And I'm always interested in the things that you would anticipate to see demonstrated by the people who would know first, right? Like we look at members of Congress and their stock trades, for example, right? Like Nancy Pelosi suddenly is like worth $500 million or whatever the number is. And there's no possible way that these people could be making that kind of money unless they're trading on insider information, which we know they are. So there must be echoes of that happening in the disclosure world somewhere. And I would assume, as we've kind of discussed in the last few weeks on this show, it would have a lot of overlap with the tech world and the finance world.
Well, immediate question from that then. What was the last, other than Age of Disclosure, which is entertainment, what was the last big film that came out related to disclosure?
S4, dude.
Did you mean Disclosure Day? Xander?
Yes, I said
Yeah,
Spielberg's film, didn't I?
You said Age of Disclosure.
All right,
So
I
Age of
meant.
Disclosure.
What
I was
other
alluding
film?
to Age of Disclosure being the last very big push where we had Congress members and a lot of the people that appeared in the Disclosure Foundation's the Disclosure Forum event. So there's like an answer at least.
Well, I think you would be able to spot the overlap in the boards of directors of these various organizations. You would start to see, look at who's on the board, look at what they've done in the past, look at what organizations they're tied to, and you'll start to see like those are the people who are probably closer to the actual information source than anybody else, I would imagine, and they're the ones that are getting their ducks in a row. This is something that Paola Harris talked about one time, and it was just the watching the smart money and watching people how they behave. I suspect this has something to do with it, but I don't know.
That's a really positive way to look at it, and I think that's very fair to say that these folks are getting ahead of the game. They're early adopters. They're the crypto bros that bought Bitcoin for $1 when it was when it was cheap. And however, for me, I used this recently. This canary in the coal mine, I suppose, would be seeing Russia and China moving on this too. Because I feel right now, no offense to the Americans, but this seems like we're setting America up for disclosure and the rest of the world's doing what? So that to me doesn't seem like we're ready quite yet for disclosure. And it would be when you see Russia and China making bigger waves about it, you would perhaps then be on the cusp of something. Maybe the US are going to do it and to hell with everyone, but you would think the other superpowers would have an inkling and want to make a move themselves.
I would consider Brazil an important power in this whole disclosure thing because of their history. And I think that Brazil is trying to make some moves, nothing substantial yet, just statements, but I would also be looking out for whatever they do, I think.
Do you think we might enter an age where nation states might say to like if China was to make an announcement, do you think there's a chance that the US would say, don't believe it, it's disinfo?
Fake news.
It's already happening. Every single time I bring up China in one of my videos, they're like, oh, China. This motherfucker, like this fucking communist. It's like It's every
Bro, have you
single
seen
fucking
China
time.
lately? They're living in the future. They're like 50 years ahead of us in some places. It's unreal.
Yeah, they're also under a severe population decline, so it goes kind of both
Sure.
ways.
I'm not saying that China's like they're the example we all need to follow. I am just saying though that they have heavily invested in their own infrastructure and they've modernized their manufacturing base to the point that it's the envy of the world. They're the factory of the world.
It's
They make
Blade Runner
everything.
2049 over there.
Right.
Basically.
And
Yeah, they got Greys walking the streets.
and they've managed to not get involved in a ton of wasteful conflicts that just squander national resources. So you've got a civilization that, from the vantage point of an NHI who is not subject to our own internal propaganda about who's good and who's bad and why and all this, someone just watching from a distance might look at China and go, there's a billion people there. They're mostly more or less homogenous in that general sense. Maybe we'll deal with them. I mean, what does it necessarily have to be America? Why does it have to be America? It doesn't have to be. And I would suggest that if we're seeing any kind of disclosure at all, it's not disclosure for the sake of disclosing to us. It's disclosure for the sake of positioning technology in a way that they can profit from it.
So if there was ever,
that's why it's being done this way, I think.
Clint, if there was ever a proverbial table of disclosure between countries and all the superpowers sat down, if I'm either China or Russia, I mean, how old is the US? It's 250 years.
250.
Last week.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. But out of those 250 years, a little less than 20 years, the US has been at peace or hasn't been at war. So why would other countries or superpowers listen to what the US has to say about anything, really, when all they've done is program their people for war the entire time, care only about expanding their dominion over other countries all the time? Why would other countries listen to what they have to say? When
I'm
it
with
comes
you.
to,
100%.
And it's really it's a little bit frustrating that when you see a film like The Age of Disclosure, when I started looking at the trailers and saw John fucking Brennan there and James Clapper there, I was like, are you kidding? And this is the underlying problem that we have right now, because and I'm gonna say something positive about the event, because I thought that the final part of it was the meat of the event. The fact that Disclosure Foundation is supporting, like, specifically Vanguard and Matthew Brown and Dylan Borland, Jeff Nishitelli and Whistleblowers, that was a great way to end the entire thing. And Matthew Brown's words were very, very significant. But you can't really what I judge people in this topic by is not just what they say or they report on, especially when it comes to media and people involved in this that are trying to put this out. I also judge them by what they stay quiet about. And there's a lot of people within that movement that haven't even mentioned Dylan Borland or Matthew Brown. They don't acknowledge them. And that there's a reason for that, because there's already a plan. I do not believe by any means that they put together a 7.5-hour presentation if they didn't already have some kind of deal already done or announcement prepared.
That's where
and we're
I'm at.
getting close to Roswell's anniversary. So, what I don't understand why. Well, I do. They're trying to cover up crimes. Essentially, that's what I think they're essentially doing. And if they do go the road that I think they're going after this event, especially when I saw those awards and all that stuff, I think that's going to be a mistake. I don't, and I think that a lot of people are not going to support that. And you could see it in the comments. And, like, it's not about being positive or negative, man. It's about just learning how to read the fucking room.
Do you mean it's in poor taste to be giving out awards in any way for any of this shit? This is about information.
The award is not the important part. The award was like a symptom of a much bigger thing that's going on, which is we're gonna do this way, the controlled way, and the people who have been involved in this, who either have some questionable things that need to be questioned or answered to, they're still involved, and that's what you're getting. And people who are disagreeing with that, some of them, they think or they understand that they're gonna probably have to play ball. The only out that I see that is positive here is if Trump does issue that executive order, which, by the way, I heard that it's already drafted, for whistleblower protections. If that happens and the whistleblower protections are good for the whistleblowers, that can change things. That can do something. It's going to be a net positive. But if they don't do that and they go the DOPSR controlled way, and they still include people who we already know that they're not fully in it for the right reasons, I would guess. I mean, I don't think it's going to get full support at all. And I'm not going to support that.
Wait, back up a second. You're saying that the disclosure that we're going to get based on what you're seeing from the people that are presenting the public face of this, the disclosure that's incoming, inbound, it's not going to be full disclosure. It's going to be very controlled and very leveraged for a particular group of people.
We've been talking about this for years now, and it feels like it's 2017 again, bro.
But is that surprising? Does that surprise anybody here? I don't.
No, but what none of us know what full disclosure would look like.
Yeah,
because you're never going to know if everything is the full disclosure.
All I complain about is them not going after the people who committed crimes. And I understand that truth and reconciliation stuff. I understand that full amnesty for people who committed crimes is something that they are pursuing. I get it. But at least you can make those crimes public and the people who committed them public. They're going to get away with it anyway.
I think...
why would you cover it like that?
Go ahead, Xander. What were you going to say?
I think right now they've got full amnesty because they're not talking. So right now they're not facing judgment for any crimes because the conversation is stuck because they will not talk. So if we can, and we were talking a little bit in this same vein before we went live, is do we think that let's call it a partial disclosure? Because I think Clint, you said, what kind of disclosure might we get? Maybe we'll get some sort of partial disclosure. We'll get some basic truths with certain negations to the last 80 years of cover up and how you achieve an 80-year long cover up and things like that. We may see people, take a victory lap who. A large portion of the UFO community might think those guys should not be taking a victory lap because we know that we've not trusted them for years. That might be the case. Yeah. But what we were saying before we went live, Clint, is as I said, right now everyone has amnesty because they're all just operating under the guise of secrecy. So let's move the conversation as far forward as it can go. And as you said, Andy, what does full disclosure look like? Who knows? But we aren't just going to get there overnight, it looks like. So let's just see what the next thing is, and then re-establish where we are, and then work from there.
And there's also the question of these could be just separate issues. There's the law enforcement issue and the congressional oversight issue, which there's going to have to be dealt with probably entirely separately from the actual process of disclosing the information, right? And if you're in the position of someone, a gatekeeper holding information, you are smart enough to know, especially if you're high up in the intelligence community, what you're sitting on and how much it's worth to somebody. So you're not going to walk into a negotiation and just give up the goods. You're going to go in and you're going to leverage those, and you're going to say, look, this is what I want. I want immunity from everything. I want fucking $10 million a year. I want, what I want. I want a different set of working arrangements. I want to be on the board of the foundation. I want you to set up a foundation and put me on the board, and I want you to pay me every year for the rest of my life to be an advisor to your thing. And if you do that, then we'll talk about what I know. I think that's what it's that. And that's the part we don't see that's happening behind closed doors. And then in the public eye, we see something like this event and they're now, okay, we're going to give each other an award and we're going to set up this foundation because 10 years from now, that foundation will be getting, massive donations. There'll be much more going on with it and you'll be on the board. Think about it. We can put you in a sweet spot before all this comes out.
So you've put that really well, and you've made the point about amnesty and why people would want amnesty and what they would want before they spilled their guts and said what they know. So these are all shadowy figures right now, for the most part, who are in the background that we don't know. And to Pavel's point, some of which may have committed terrible crimes or been part of terrible things. Does that mean all the folks currently out there in the public for months and or years don't actually know that much? Because why would they need amnesty? And does that mean actually Putov, Davis, Semivan, Lou Elizondo, Chris Mellon, they can't just come out and say what they know, and that's not disclosure? Because why would they need amnesty?
Okay, so you're saying, what if the people who are already speaking publicly, because they don't have amnesty when they're talking, they might not know as much as they claim? Is that what you're saying?
Well, to the point we're saying that all these folks, we keep talking about folks in the background need amnesty potentially to come forward and tell us what they know, because that'll be like a disclosure process. Are the people already in the field not able to do that because we're presuming that none of them have done the bad things that have
I'm not presuming that.
I don't know.
Neither am I.
I don't know that those two things are like mutually exclusive. I think what you're seeing is like it's case by case. These guys, it's like who's this guy? Well, he was he's a general who was in charge of this research program, and he knows all about it, and he knows what's going on and who the contractors are, and this is the deal he wants to make. He wants this. I mean, I think it's like you're dealing with this guy. What is he sitting on? How much is it worth to you? What are you willing to give up to get it? What kind of deal? And then will he flip on anybody? Part of this is you're kind of dismantling a criminal organization, but another part of it is they are also trying to get out from under this thing. They want to come out and get public with this because that's where the real money is anyway. Wouldn't it be nice to not have to be in the cover up anymore and just go make billions of dollars on this technology? How cool would that be? So I think what you're seeing is not an either or situation. You're just seeing deals that are being made, but we're not seeing the deal. We're just seeing the result of the deal play out later. And then in the background, maybe this just looks like, look, one bill, give blanket amnesty, and then all these guys walk, and we get to commercialize the technology, and you're going to make money off of that.
That's fair, right? But what still gets me then, and this is probably stuff I'm just really thinking just now, are the people that are already out in the open, if they all came together at the Clint Weldon Forum 2026 in December at one big table, and get your tickets. Award ceremony will be after the show. And they all said what they know, everything. Would that not be enough for disclosure? And this is the point around what's full disclosure. We don't know what we don't know. We don't even know who we don't know. And this is what I'm really confused about. What we are relying on, it sounds like, is, from Xander's point, people coming forward and saying, I've done some terrible shit, by the way. But I can tell you about aliens. I just can't see that happening regardless, because
that's what we're relying on. That's what we're relying. See, I'm don't forget about the UFO community. Forget about all these podcasts and everything we're doing. Just forget about all that and just put yourself
in watching. Yeah, everyone come off the stream.
These are just guys inside the program who are like, I want out, and I want to be able to live a normal life, and I want to make money, and I want to tell you what I know, but I need walking papers to do that. And that's just the simple fact. And I don't give a fuck about disclosing aliens to the world or what people think about it. I think a lot of it is that. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but I'm just like, I think that's how I would answer it. I don't know.
I just don't know who we need. So this whole thing about disclosure then. So who do we actually need to come forward? Is it 100 people? Is it 5? Is it 1? Does Trump coming out and saying, listen, I've been briefed now and ETs are real. We've got something integrating with us on this planet. Over the next coming months and years, we're going to give you some real information that's going to change the world. But right now, that's it. Is that not disclosure? Or are we still going to then need people to come forward to say, I worked on a craft. And see, whenever Pavel and people like Pavel who are very keen on the criminal side of this being brought to justice, right? Because I'm not necessarily totally chasing after that because of the bigger picture, but I get the moral side of it. If we don't get that, does it really make a difference to what ultimately comes out? I don't think you would care, Clint. I get the impression you would be happy with the truth. And if everyone gets away with it, fine.
I don't think that would be the full
history.
truth.
It's the history of our world, though. It's like our war crimes are war crimes, but our space program exists because we brought Nazis over and they built it for us. That's why we have a space program. You know, that's what started.
I love that. I love the way you just described that.
Like that's who built it. So you know, do you want to go back and relitigate all of the crimes that those people were responsible for? Now, I'm not saying that morally it's not disgusting and horrifying that that's what happened. That's the way the United States works. This country was founded on a genocide. We first came here and we killed every single person across from one side to the other and took over the whole. As a matter of fact, Hitler was impressed with the way the Americans killed off the American Indians, the indigenous people here. And when he was trying to figure out how extreme the Nazis should be, they actually dialed it back from what we did. Now, that's not me being an apologist for Nazis. I'm just saying that you can look this up. This is a historical fact that one of the things that they admired about how America did business is the way that America basically cleaned out the indigenous people. And so go for it. Now, I'm not saying, no, but that's
not far behind.
It's not the point.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Well, colonialism and like all that stuff is beside the point in this particular issue here. But I'm just saying, like, that's who you're dealing with. What you're going to get is probably going to look a lot like what you've seen in the past. A partial truth mixed in with some lies, and it's going to benefit a very small group of people in a huge way. And then we'll go on and we'll still have questions, but we'll also have some answers, but probably a lot more questions.
So
I think that's it. The only disclosure that's going to fit what this group really wants is if the Independence Day ships
we all
show
want
up.
The catastrophe to happen. That's
the
problem.
Before I forget this, two things. I am watching the World War II documentary with Tom Hanks just now, which is fucking brilliant, on Sky History. I'm 10 episodes in, so you are right, Clint, what you said. But also, it's sort of relevant to this. History is written by the winners. So all the Allies done some terrible, terrible things. We don't hear about a lot of them because we won. So again, that's the same with this whole disclosure thing. Same with if someone came forward and said, my group has managed to cure, name any major disease, right? I hate naming stuff, because people will be suffering from various things watching and listening to this, and best of luck to them. But if someone came forward and went, my group has managed to cure insert disease, insert illness here, but we've done some terrible things along the way to get to this point, do you care? Do your family care who are going to get cured? Not necessarily. And I think 99.9%, and I've said this before, so people new or might not have heard me say this, but it will be the same for the general public, that 99.99999% of people will not care about historical crimes committed by people who covered this up. They will care that shit, UFOs are real, aliens are real, whatever that entails, and we go from there.
Crimes are still being committed right now. That's my point. It's not about.
I still don't think they'll care. It's like if the standard of living improves, they won't care.
That's my problem.
Well,
that's my problem.
Yeah. No. But I don't think it's exclusive your problem. I don't think it's a problem because you disagree with it morally. I also disagree with it morally. It's just that I'm sitting here in a lovely, comfy studio with wonderful lighting. Like, I have no problems right now. And there are people that don't give a fuck how their problems get solved as long as they get solved. And I can fully sympathize with that. Like, I get it. There was a time in my life I ate ketchup like for dinner. like there was at that point I probably would have.
This is why Clapper essentially got away with spying on Americans, because most Americans didn't give a fuck about that.
People see and hear horrible things and go, huh.
Dude, the Epstein people are still walking around. We know who they are. Yeah. None of them are in jail. Like we were going to burn down the world. Remember how big a deal Epstein was? It was going to burn it all the fuck down. armed gangs went into the United States Capitol building and tried to like kidnap members of Congress and hang them outside over the Epstein thing. Like that's how bad it was. And here we are. I'm just saying, like, I think the question about disclosure is not the conversation that these people are really having. They're having a different conversation. It's how do I get out? How do I get mine? What's in it for me? And if you get the disclosure out of it, that's great. But it's not the top priority. This is about just rearranging the game board so these people can be more comfortable on it. And I think that has something to do with the fact that they're being forced to do it, but we don't know.
Yeah, what's the world going to look like going forward, and how can I come out ahead of the pack?
And a good question from that is, do we want the world to look the same, not necessarily technologically? I do believe there isn't really much of a way you can share a lot of the disclosure truths without us having some sort of technological leap in some way. Whether or not we actually pay for it as citizens is another thing. I don't know. But I tend to agree with you, particularly on the track that we're on. But what was I saying? What was I saying? I can't remember now.
The coming out of the old world into new world. That will be
do we want to? Yeah, thank you. Do we want that same ethos to continue? Like at some point, are we going to say, I don't think it's cool that you're going to continue to charge me insane prices for something that now costs you far less to produce and far less effort. Like, so it all comes down to a very human, like, time and effort versus output.
I don't think it's about us. The more I think about this, man, I don't think it's about us and what we pay. I don't think they give a shit what we pay. It's about what Apple pays, what Nvidia pays, what Google pays, what OpenAI, Palantir pays. It's about the reorganization of society from a ground up level, or from a top down, I guess, in this case. If you're looking out at the next 100 years, you're looking at a world that is probably going to be post-technological singularity. It'll probably make thousands of years of technological progress over the course of the next century. How we come out at the other end of this is going to look drastically different than the way we go in right now. And I think that the smart money is getting prepared for that. And I think that's why you see people like Peter Thiel and other tech CEO billionaires, Elon, talk about this whole concept of the network state, how they're going to exist in a post-politics world where they can just be citizens of wherever it stand and go and come as they please. So the rest of us live.
What would piss me off is if the world didn't look dramatically different as a result of that change. That's a really big issue for me personally.
And I think because they're refusing to acknowledge that the paradigm needs to change, the world is going to stay the same, even if disclosure happens.
But as
because
I said,
there's still going to be
because people will be the same.
There's disparaging, like in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, you can see the favelas and the fucking huge buildings right next to them. That's what's going to keep happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you going to go to people in Africa who live in like Johannesburg and slums and hand them little boxes that give them infinite electricity, and they're going to go, I can't feed my kids. What the fuck is this?
Mm-hmm.
There's this thing about the West and people like who live comfortably. Oh, we'll get flying cars and free electricity. No, we won't. Like, but it's in terms of a whole world. How does it affect everyone? The way people live, you've got kids starving and being slaughtered. I had this conversation with Danny Sheehan some time ago, and I don't know how deep you guys want to get. I could do this shit for hours.
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
You've got kids on a daily basis, babies being macheted to death because of where they were born or a name or a book their parents read, which is insanity across the globe, no matter what religion you follow, right? Unbelievable insanity. You're going to tell me disclosure happens, and this is for people generally who think this, and the wide new world the next day, these guys put down their blades and machine guns and stop shooting and stabbing kids. Oh, we've got aliens now. Do you know what? Time to stop this. No, that's still going to happen. That's Pavel's point. The world's not going to change. Mm-hmm. The people in like Brazil, you've got kids running about barefoot in Brazil because their parents can't afford shoes for them. All of a sudden, is it like, we've got free electricity, folks, the aliens have given us that? And also to Xander's point, this is just a what if, and I thrive on what ifs, right? This assumption that free energy is cheap and easy and clean, what if it's not? What if it's one thing to put a power source inside of a craft? What if it's another thing to give 8 billion people electricity from a source? What if it's not just as simple as all of this? And I imagine there would be shadowy government figures, some of those people we were talking about before, who might hear me say that and go, yeah, that's part of the problem. Everything's not going to change overnight. How do you decide who gets and who doesn't? There will be manufacturing. There will be waiting lists. You know, you can get a 32-inch TV now for like £100 in the UK, probably $100 in the US, like a cheap make, okay? But it's a 32-inch TV. When those first came out, they were like £10,000. And it was like the peak of technology. Now, you would look at it, and if you walked over and broke it, I'll buy another one. Like things are just, our society is just not set up for everything will be great, everything will be brilliant.
I'm with you. People will be the same, and it'll be more like District 9 than anything else. District 9 and Elysium is what you're going to have. You're going to have a world where the tech oligarchy that you see in place right now is the one that wants UFO technology. That's what they're after. And if they get it, you're going to have a guy like Peter Thiel with that level of power, or Elon Musk with that level of power, someone like that, maybe not that exact person.
As if he needed more.
Right. And that's who's going to have it. What are they going to do with it? Well, they're going to first power their data centers, and then they're going to power their factories. And the data centers are going to run the AI, and the AI is going to run on the humanoid robot army that takes over the entire economy and vertically integrates it all the way. And then you've eliminated the need for people. We become this sort of second class, citizen in our own world, and the tech elite can do whatever they want. And I think that's how they are looking at it. That's where they're looking towards. That's why they're building bunkers, and they're building these fortresses, and they've got, these just bizarre conferences that they hold all over the world and weird meetings they get together. They're thinking about a future where we're just not that significant and they don't need us. And I think that in that world, like whatever we do, if the technology makes it down to the common person in any way, it would be something like they build a power source in some city somewhere, and they have a water desalination plant that's running off of that, and they're able to like provide clean water to people. But they're not going to give you the box that powers your life for free. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but even then, what if disclosure, they can work out. Richard Dolan and Bryce Abel famously wrote a book called AD After Disclosure, folks. Bryce never mentions he co-authored it. It's a joke for a lot of folks who will know what I mean. However, what if the people who genuinely know about the truth know that what they can disclose they can map out around a week or a month at most? What if from that point they don't know? What if disclosure begins a chain of events and Clinch is coming back. What if disclosure starts a chain of events that they can't predict and they don't know where it'll go? So once the people know one NHI exists, and that entity which is in touch with us, they act on that. And it could be good. It could be right. Let's let them know we're here. What if that then just opens things up to other entities which are out there or are standing by? And we talked a bit about this a little bit on the last show I was on around the zoo hypothesis or the simulation hypothesis. What if it just starts a chain of events that the folks in charge right now, and this is a little bit of almost justifying perhaps why they've kept this covered up. What if there are reasons where they're like, we don't quite know what happens next. We know phase 1, but we don't know what happens after that. We literally can't control what comes next, and that might not be a good thing because it just opens up. We go Star Trek Next Generation, or we go full Independence Day.
So with that in mind, from that perspective, how do you do disclosure? How do you frame it so that the people don't ask those questions, or at least not enough people ask those questions?
I think you do it over time. I've said this before. You go 5 or 10 years, you have the James Webb Telescope find something really far away. And within 6 months to a year, you keep people scientifically up to date via podcasts, the internet, various forms of social media, big platforms, regular updates, monthly news conferences. You then confirm within a year's time, we have techno signatures, or we found pollution on another planet. Then that gets folk going, we think there might be something there. We're going to send off probes. It's going to take years to get there, maybe even decades, maybe centuries. We'll all be dead, but we think we've found life. We're going to keep looking elsewhere. That opens up the public perception to there is something else out there and it's really far away, but maybe that means something else is closer. And then you work back to, we've found something closer. Oops, actually, we've found something on the moons of this planet. Oops, actually, something has been visiting. And you slowly acclimatize people to the idea.
So can I tell you, I think you're exactly right. I think
Thank you.
that is exactly right.
Can I record that for my wife to hear that? Just
You win. She'd be like, it's AI.
Thanks, Clint.
You get it. It's all yours.
Oh man.
They could also send a signal, or we could stage it like we got a signal, or we could I like that slow process. But what if it is about before we went live, there was a really lively conversation between you guys about the threat, the possibility of there being a threat. What do you think about that? Can we talk about that again? You guys were going back and forth on this about the national security state sort of preparing the public for something that may or may not be coming.
Well, I thought I made it clear with my very ambiguous, I think you're exactly right statement.
My wife just texted and said, I heard that. She must be listening. Pavel, I think you were desperate to come in on that.
No, I wanted to just I kind of lost the train of thought of what I was going to say. Let's focus on the threat and I'll remember. Sorry.
I guess so from a starting point, I do come from the Love and Light Society. Like I started there, but it has since evolved to the point where at the end of the day, I think there's just as much. Let's put it this way in context of the last points we were just making. I think there's just as much chance as us making up a threat than there is being a real threat. I think that's probably a fair thing to say from my point of view.
And I guess the question is, how do you define threat? What is it? I think, Andy, you had a really nice sort of broad definition that
your
was
cake shop analogy.
Yeah, the cake. Please. The cake analogy.
So I said that if you had a cake shop with 100 members of staff and it was really well known and really successful, and down the street another shop was going to open with a big sign outside with no name, but just vaguely suggested it was going to sell sweet treats, pastries, and all your favorite snacks. To you, that is a threat. That is a threat to your immediate future, your staff, your livelihood, your business. It doesn't mean it's not going to be healthy competition or in the long run turn out to be a good thing. Maybe it works out well. Maybe they don't sell exactly the same things as you. But what if they are bigger, better resourced, better staffed? What if their stuff tastes better? That puts you out of business. You don't feed your kids anymore. You pay off all your staff. You no longer have a cake shop. Now, did that entity, let's just now call it an entity, mean to threaten you? Did it mean to put you out of business? Did it mean to affect your whole family? No. But there's a consequence. And then in hindsight, you look back and go, that was a threat. I should have acted differently. So what if this whole situation, this cover-up, this phenomenon is being viewed by some folks in the military industrial complex, private entities, aerospace, as a threat because there are so many unknown elements. And there's an assumption on a lot of our parts, I'm speaking generally here, that they know, quote unquote, the government knows. And what if they don't know? And this isn't me making this up. This is quite common thinking now. What if they don't know that much? What if they're not entirely sure? And I made that point earlier about what if disclosure, they know so much. It's like a Goosebumps choose your own ending, where now turn to page 12, now turn to page 37, now go back to page 6. Oh, wait, you're dead. What if they literally have a Goosebumps choose your own ending book and half the pages are missing because they're like, we don't know the rest of this yet. We don't know how it will go. So we can keep you safe now.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, we can no longer keep you safe. And then you all go, shit, I wish I'd taken the blue pill. I wish I'd went back to bed. I wish I hadn't gone down the rabbit hole. And we all wanted to know. And then it turns out, actually, maybe we didn't, because the only thing keeping us quote unquote safe or content or in this bubble is not knowing.
Who gives countries the right to classify reality? Just answer me that.
Well, that's a fun statement, right? But we don't know technically what it means.
You don't?
No,
You don't
none
think
of us
that
do.
you don't think that humans, as humans, as a population, at least deserve to know what's going on, and people
Of
are
course we
hiding
do.
it from people?
But we don't
And
know
that
what
this
they're
is where
hiding.
the conversation was before we went live, is that do we think that it's a threat based on intent on the part of NHI, or that the technology that is a result of the truth being shared? That's what you're saying, Pavel, is that do we not have a right to know? Well, as Andy pointed out earlier, how much disclosure can be shared before more questions are asked? And that's why I said, how do you control disclosure? How do you get people to stop immediately? How do you get them to say, please save us, government? That's the main thing. Because right now, most people on Earth would welcome some sort of invasion by looking at online polls and stuff. They just want them to get here so that they can stop feeling oppressed by their own species.
Yeah.
But the real question is it? Do we treat it? Is it appropriate to treat it as a threat because of the intent of the NHI, or is it appropriate that we treat it as a threat because if that truth, the fundamental truth, is shared with the rest of humanity, then is that more of a threat because that power would eventually be placed into the hands of humanity? That's the big problem, because even with, let's say, this technology completely absolves humanity of any scarcity and produces abundance at a low cost at least, does religion stop? Does religious dogma stop? Do people then take that new power and say, well, my God told me to manipulate the gravity over your capital city? And do they get there? Sorry.
I know this is just one thing you mentioned, but this is part of the issue I have. We have an abundance of everything already. We have too much of everything, but it just
and we don't know how to do it.
It goes to such a small percentage of people. We could solve world hunger and all that kind of stuff. The top 1% could do that. The top 20%, the top 50% could get together and solve all the problems, but they don't. So what would a new technology or a new truth? And that's where I love the phrasing of reality is classified when Matthew Brown brought that up. It means a lot of different things again to different people, the same as what is disclosure. Because reality is classified to a lot of people, I think they would actually mean aliens are real. It means it's much bigger than that. But it's one of those phrases that do the kids in the slums and the favelas care about reality being classified? Does a mother who's trying to keep her kids alive for another day, again, not to get all Jordan Peterson?
I don't think that what's hidden about reality just has to do with aliens. Not even a chance. Not even a little bit. That's just one of many things that have been hidden throughout history. It's ancient history. It's physics. It's a lot of different things, and everybody has their own reality, right? And everybody has something that is hidden from them. And of course, favela kids are not going to give a shit about that. They're going to give a shit about what they have to eat the next day, and the disparity between them and another kid from one of those buildings. That's what they're going to care about.
So I think. Sorry, Pavel, finish it.
But for me, I don't know. It's just pretty simple. If there is meaningful change in the quote unquote more advanced world on Earth, I think that eventually there's going to be changes in the other places like those favelas, but it's going to be gradual. It's not going to be overnight as many people think. But yeah, what were you going to say, Sander?
I was going to say, so this just goes back to the original point we were saying before we went live, and I'm really sorry that nobody was there to really watch this, but we were basically saying, what's the reason for the national security? Is it outside threat or internal threat? Where does the danger really come from? I think we could all agree there's reasonable grounds that there would be a danger somewhere. Unless it's for pure greed and power, there is probably an issue with divulging the truth of things, because it would place power into a place that doesn't quite know how to deal with it right now. So right now, yes, on Earth we have the ability to provide abundance for everybody on planet Earth, but it's a management problem. We don't know how to deal with it. There are things like greed, and there's distribution problems and things like that. Why I said before we went live that I believe that the fundamental problem is that the power that we're going to potentially be dealing with is just so far advanced that the distribution problem gets put aside, and it becomes the equivalent of, say, a 4-year-old on a bad day being given the button to a nuclear bomb being detonated. There's a huge power problem here, that if the truth gets out and the questions are allowed to be asked and the technologies are allowed to be developed, with AI being able to also interpret half of the shit that we put online as a result, how long is it going to be before a terrorist organization or just another country that we don't necessarily agree with gets their hands on technology capable of completely obliterating an entire country within a second? And I'm not just talking about nuclear weapons, because we control those reasonably well right now. But what if the technology is so important that it simply has to be integrated throughout society? Otherwise, we'd see it as a great injustice. 0 Point Energy being an example. So this is where I mean, I do believe there is a threat, but where is it more likely to preside? Is it more likely to preside in the NHI that already allegedly have control of this technology, or is it in the idea that it might get into population's hands?
So as a civilization, are we just not ready?
Yes.
I think we'll do it anyway. Even ready or not, we're already doing it. I mean, look at what's happening with AI right now.
People get pregnant when they're not ready, and they become good parents eventually, right?
Not without mistakes, my friend.
This story is less than a week old. It has been argued, and I think argued well, that advanced frontier model AI is as dangerous as nuclear weapons, and especially AI that is recursively self-improving. When you get to a runaway intelligence explosion, is going to be a completely unpredictable beast that no one is prepared for. But somehow we're all racing to develop, and there is almost no federal regulation in place, practically none, to regulate this industry. And we're putting this shit out into the world, and we're just rolling the dice every single day. And a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about it, Xander, Mythos came out. Anthropic's Mythos was released. And within a few hours, it was able to crack through every classified U.S. system there is. And they pulled it immediately. And it was Fable, I think, on the Claude app. I forget what the civilian-facing model was, but this is
it was called Fable. Yeah,
it's a Fable, and they had to pull it within an hour of it being put out there, and so it was pulled. And then a few days later, China announced that they had found or discovered a tool that is at least as good as Mythos. So why would we think, if this is what we're willing to do with, we already have killbots, we already have a Skynet, and worse than that, we have many Skynets, and we have various different levels of Skynets, plus we have a lot of different kinds of killbots, plus we have nuclear weapons, and we don't have any problem putting all this stuff in the same soup together. So I don't see any. I think AI technology and NHI technology are going to be treated more or less the same.
Well,
super advanced, super cool. What can it do for us?
Evidently, we do have a problem distributing that power right now.
Yeah,
because that has already been pulled, and so it's kind of proving the point.
But you can't pull it forever. I mean,
no, absolutely not.
Someone else will do it, and
is this is why I said I think it was last week, I said, is this what Jacques Vallée called the problem? Is this why this must happen now? Because there's simply no stopping it at this point. You get an AI superintelligence if it's able to iterate on the scale that logic dictates it might be able to do. Then are we just going to bypass all of these recovery programs that have so far for decades been so siloed that they've actually stifled their own progress? So at some point is is open source material going to be able to bypass them? So do they get out ahead of it, create the security state in which that we can't access tools like Fable, and the ones just only 2 or 3 years down the line, imagine what they could do.
Yeah. I mean, 5-6 years from now, when Mythos or something like it can run on your phone, and what the next frontier model of that period is going to be able to do, I think that they're in a no-win situation. I think that sooner or later the game board is inherently unstable. The game is inherently unstable and unwinnable. At some point, someone's going to move. It's a classic prisoner's dilemma setup where you have all these different nation-state players and all these different private contractor players, and sooner or later someone is going to just move. You can't count on it being a static system. So what would you do? You would put yourself in a position so that if and when it did happen, you were in a position to not only profit from it, but also to leverage it for other reasons, other possible outcomes. And maybe if you knew that there was no way out anyway, and sooner or later the technology was going to get out, the secret was going to be out, and after that, if it's completely unpredictable what humanity does next, maybe the best move is to get it out sooner rather than later, under controlled conditions, as best as you possibly can. And then you get the funding you need to fully develop the mature technology, and then you get the fuck out of here and you set up shop someplace else. But you get us to a point where we have, while we have the industrial base intact, and the metallurgy and the artificial intelligence and the data centers to run the society that is capable of producing ARVs at scale, say. Maybe we just buy ourselves 50 years to do that. And that gives us enough time to get off planet, go someplace else, so that if and when this planet self-destructs, at least we're not a one planet species. I could see something like that happening. I mean, we just don't. It could also be something along the lines of like, there is a threat, and maybe it is, as we've said before, we don't know what we don't know. So yeah, there's 4 or 5 races we're familiar with, and that's it. And there are many more. We have to build up our technology base to at least get to something close to their level, or we risk extinction anyway. So maybe this is just the gambit.
I think what appears to be happening is that the way disclosure must happen is that control it's not relinquished, it's increased. Because the simple problem is, it is, as Andy pointed out, it's going to create questions. And I don't think they can stop us talking about something as simple as the meaning of life in the wake of information related to the disclosure, like partial disclosure. But they have successfully stopped the mainstream public from having access to nuclear secrets. That is still a whole classified area of science right now. You can learn to do it, but you have to spend a lot of time and a lot of money to get there, and after that you are very much controlled in what you can and can't say publicly. Even I think it was Eric Weinstein that said there's areas of science he's literally not allowed to talk about because they relate to national security. So do they use that same model that the DOE adopted decades ago, and allegedly DOE are a central part to this whole recovery program thing? Do they see the perfect model in front of them right now and just apply it to this new technology and sort of shut down the public domain, which is the opposite of what we need as a species that needs to be able to take advantage of the technology? And are we seeing the beginnings of that? And in my opinion, yes, because it appears that they simply have to shut down the level of control that we are heading towards.
And also, let's say, for the sake of argument, that Ross is right and Lockheed Martin did build the Tic Tac, or at least can build Tic Tacs. Well, how many Tic Tacs can you build? 1, 2, 10? Well, what if
how many do you need?
How much do they cost? $100 billion a piece? $30 billion a piece? How long does it take to make one? Well, what if we opened up the floodgates and then we were able to get to that $1.5 trillion defense budget? And what if we could allocate the funds to buy a bunch of those Tic Tacs? You know, I could. That's what I think. You know, the questions about public safety are probably going to come after the questions about profit and shareholder value. If that sounds familiar, it's just because that's just what we see. Like,
I think there's also just as much chance of there being an overinflated defense budget. I think there's just as much chance as the truth dramatically reducing the need for that defense budget as there is for boosting it. Because if we're talking about world-changing tech that may not require the lengths that we currently go to, and all of the special materials and things like that, then it might be the case that the defense budget would actually be slashed in half or even less. I don't know.
Maybe that's
from
their,
nowhere. I don't know.
Maybe that's their move, is to make sure that doesn't happen and get out there in front of it. Make sure that you sell the uncertainty. Sell the uncertainty. Guys, it's a big universe out there. It's very dark. Threat, man. Very scary. And we know that we've met the first visitors. We know who they are, and we know kind of what they're about, but we don't know much more than that. And what we do know isn't great. So guess what? We have to build up our defense base. We've got to modernize our military. We have to, guess what? The Space Force, conveniently, we have a Space Force now. They're going to need stuff. Lockheed Martin, turns out, has some expertise in this area. Maybe they could help.
And we have this science advisory board for the ODNI that they're going to look back at some old data and they're going to find some strange signal back in the SETI. The old SETI printouts. They're going to find, because that's where they're going to look. That's the kind of place that a science advisory board like that looks. They're not going to go knocking on the doors in Congress. They're going to go looking back at old data, which is fine to do, but they're going to find something there. It sounds so conspiratorial, but I really do feel like it's just playing out exactly how you'd expect it to.
And I think that's because we're all jaded and we've seen it a million times now and we're used to it. And now it's just sort of like, it's kind of like being young and naive and idealistic about things versus getting a little bit older and realizing that, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on or who you think is your hero, it's always more complicated. There are always so many other layers and levels to this thing. And it's just not that simple. And if one thing seems to be true more often than anything else, it's that rich and powerful people tend to make out like bandits while the rest of us are left holding the bag. And I imagine that, especially in the face of a tragedy like a giant war where you have, a very small elite group of people sending a lot of young poor people to go kill each other, or finance where you have a small group of financial elite that owns more wealth than everyone else on earth combined, or you have, technology, whatever it is, you just see these concentrations of power. And these people, that's how decisions get made. And we see how it goes. I think the more interesting question is what happens when two civilizations come into open contact? Forget about the disclosure conversation for a second. If whether or not who had what technology when, and did somebody get, amnesty for a crime they committed, set that conversation to the side and just say, what happens when you have open contact between two completely different civilizations on two completely different technological paradigms? Does the less advanced civilization survive contact with a superior civilization? Could we even withstand it? What would it even look like? Let's say it's the Nordics. Let's say, and based on the rumors that we've heard, and this is just I know it's a crazy rumor. Sorry, Pavel, I'm going to shut up in a second. But the Nordics supposedly are only a few hundred years beyond us. 300, 250, something like that. That's conceivable that we could have a relationship with a civilization like that. That's my point. All right, I'll shut up.
I mean, historically, and I know this is an anthropomorphization of your example, but historically, when two civilizations with different technological advances have met, the less advanced is always obliterated. So,
Mhm.
you know, if we look at history, it doesn't bode well for the less advanced. And if we presume that we are the less advanced than those others, you know, um, yeah. But like, I don't know.
I think the
Let's
question
continue.
is, do you think we're being visited by an advanced alien civilization right now?
Well, advanced in what way though? Because Clint mentioned earlier one of my favorite movies, District 9. We were
Yep.
visited in District 9 by a really advanced civilization, but they needed help
Yeah,
because they
let's
were
say
suffering from illness and lack of resources. They had a really cool craft and ship and some weapons. But I know it's a movie, but I love that concept of we still need help. You can offer us something,
Mhm.
and perhaps we could offer you. And look how that movie turns out. If people haven't seen it, they should go and watch it. But again, just because someone has a piece of technology, and I don't know if we touched on this on the show, like I say, I was on last time, but this is the stuff I love. Again, what if these civilizations visiting us, it's rogue elements of a society? What if it's an Elon Musk type on another planet, which has a small crew, and they've pissed off on a one-off ship off into the solar system and the universe to explore, and that's the one that civilization had?
You're talking about the Anunnaki now, like essentially, right?
You can put labels on it, right? But there's all these different, all these potentials. What if we've only ever been visited by ET a handful of times in our whole history? Most of the stories are bullshit. A handful of genuine ET, and I say ET deliberately because it's not interdimensional, because that's something else. What if genuine planet-to-planet contact has happened very, very infrequently? Which I think would be more likely than all these races have turned up to meet us.
Oh, I do think we've probably dramatically overinflated the level of contact that we are receiving, and I also don't think it's a very, let's say, a dynamic spectrum of species that are visiting us. I think that whoever got to us first, if they've decided to stay around, that's pretty much the only guys that we're probably interacting with, for whatever reason. Like, that
I think there's been a percentage of ET, right? Genuine planet to planet. I think there's a percentage of NHI drones that we're in contact with, i.e. these Tic Tacs and things like that. I don't think there's anything inside of them. I then think you've got the interdimensional side of it, is that the whole kind of mantid being type stuff potentially. And then maybe you've got a little bit of something that used to be here before us. Maybe it's the Nordics. And again, it goes off the deep end, but maybe there's something to the whole Atlantis thing. Something happened, advanced civilization. They left the planet hundreds, if not maybe 1,000 years ago. And maybe some of them are on their way back, / are here already, / are already under the water. And you've got a mix of things happening. And that's when a lot of these folks in the know come out and say, this is a lot stranger and weirder than people would believe. So imagine having to sell that to the public. We've got some ET, but it's not that often because of the distance, etc. But some can travel. We've got drones that aren't human. We've got stuff that's coming from a non-physical place that isn't here.
The non-corporeals.
Yeah, and then we've got some stuff that actually predates us, and that's where your lore from Atlantis and all that kind of stuff comes in. All this is at play. This is happening, but we don't know everything about everything. I think that's probably something along the right lines.
I agree with you. I do agree with you. I think it would almost be a little bit embarrassing for the US government, specifically because that's just the most information we have right now. I think it would be a little bit embarrassing for them to acknowledge some things, but also not have an answer for the vast majority of things that we already have the questions for. Like, I don't believe they can answer questions like, where do humans come from, and like what happens after death and things like that. And these are questions we're already having as part of the expanded ufology narrative. Like, we're asking all of these questions already, and it might be quite mundane to the point where we might get a case of we don't know what's going on, and that's not going to wash as an answer, particularly in terms of national security.
Xander, I've always loved the idea, right? Imagine you get Trump brings the alien out on the White House lawn, the classic, right, idea. And we're talking, and imagine Trump goes off script like he never does, right? And he goes, his little grey here, we've got the saucer, you guys came in. What about your triangles? And the little grey goes, oh, we don't have triangles. And he goes, oh, look here, we've got some pictures of them. And they go, oh, we've got no idea who those guys are. Again, these assumptions that a species turns up and they're going to be able to tell us everything about all the other species. They might come here and say, look, we found you guys like 30 years ago. It was actually the mid-90s. Nirvana was around. We thought that was cool. And we turned up and we've kind of been interacting a little bit at a distance. But yeah, we found you like 30 years ago. Unlikely to happen given they wouldn't have a lot of time and all that. But if that was the case, they don't know all these other entities. So again, I don't really buy into the whole Galactic Federation thing where there's a whole Star Trek civilization out there in our solar system, and we're just that little planet sitting here where they're all going, is Earth ready yet? I don't think that's the case at all.
I think it's probably a lot more dog eat dog and everybody for themselves. Different. You're going to have different civilizations at different levels of advancement. Some that are aggressive, some that are not, some that just keep to themselves. Anything that you can imagine probably goes. The idea that it's all love and light or it's all, total darkness, I think is a little naive. I think it's going to be a mixed bag. And I think that argument has legs. If you're going to make a disclosure and you wanted to raise the military budget, that's your argument. And I don't think anybody's really going to push. How can you push back on that? Yeah, there's aliens. There's a bunch of stuff we don't know about them. We're going to need some more money. Who's going to say no? And if you did say, and what happens if you have a situation where we say we don't have the full picture, but then China comes out and she makes a statement. Well, China's in open contact with this group, and we have already established diplomatic relations with them. And then it's suddenly this game of brinksmanship about who is telling the truth, who can actually back it up. What does that look like? How does that actually play out? What does open contact look? Does that look like an exchange program? Does that look like we send cameras to their planet to get footage of what it's like and it comes back? Will we ever see that? Does it on the ground level for the average person, would we ever even get a glimpse into what those civilizations might look like in our lifetime?
If you wouldn't mind me just making one analogy as to the question of whether what the ratio is of good and bad in the universe right now. When the universe, this is all theory, but it is scientific theory. One of the core theories about that explains why is there matter and not antimatter is the fact that at the moment of the Big Bang, there just by some unexplained chance there happened to be only a very small amount more matter than antimatter. They were created virtually equally, but because there was slightly more matter ended up dominating the entire universe. I believe I think it might be the same case for, let's call it, galactic species that achieve this level of spread throughout the universe. I believe that by pure chance, we may have got to a stage where a civilization that was morally responsible ended up dominating the vast majority of the universe, and as a result, they effectively stop any, let's say, species that aren't ready. They might be quarantined in some way. For me, if we're talking about the level of technology that I believe might be at play, then that for me is the only way that this works, because if even just a few civilizations get hold of this level of technology, then the universe is that Wild West. And it's a case of we don't know what's really coming at us, and we've been only extremely lucky so far that we haven't been destroyed already. And I think it's the opposite. I think it's by pure luck the universe is just dominated by good, well-intentioned and mature enough species to be able to handle that technology.
And even in that scenario, if that is the case, which it could very well be, it still doesn't mean that it's all safe out there and wonderful. There can still be danger, and there can be, all kinds of things, that it's an unknown world. There was in the original incarnation of the Carl Sagan Cosmos series, he talked about contact with a more advanced civilization a number of times, various episodes. But there's one particular episode that jumps to mind, and he hypothesized about what it would be like if we met a society that was slightly more advanced than us, but not terribly so, just enough that they could maybe give us an expanded understanding of the universe and what's going on in it and how to traverse it a little bit, but then embarking on a exploration program in partnership with this other group. And I just thought it was such a cool idea, and it echoed a lot of Star Trek stuff that I really like. But I imagine at some point, if you're one of the top graybeards sitting on all this information, and you realize that in the grand scheme of things, sooner or later, humanity must take its first steps into the stars as a mature species, and we just have to start doing it. There's no easy way. There's no right way. There's just whatever happens, and we either make it or we don't. But we're either going to make it or not anyway. So we might as well get this stuff out there and let the next generation of people start understanding it, because sooner or later, a group is going to have to take this over and represent Earth. And we're going to have to decide, what does it mean to be a human? Is it more than just being an American or a Russian or whatever citizen of whatever country you're from? Is it just enough to say we have a common point of origin? We're all from Earth. We're all human. Psychologically, would that be enough to maybe bring us together and unite us as a species? Or is it just going to be, a messy future where we have this technology in it? It just keeps getting messier.
I think that's probably one of the biggest problems right now. It's at least the biggest question, because we genuinely don't know the answer to that. We don't know.
Yeah. All we have is the actual history already has shown that the only constant throughout human history has been war and fighting, and nothing so far has changed that. I don't see why this would.
And where's the threat? It's at least both of us, if not just one-sided. It's got to be at least, what does humanity do with this technology if unleashed? And the fact that the universe may be so vast that malevolent species just sail right past us and don't give a fuck, because why would they? It's like me walking past a bee's nest. Like, I might not want to chill with the bees, but like I'd only interact with them if they became a problem for me personally. But
Clint mentioned World War II earlier, and again, I recommend the Tom Hanks documentary if folks are watching it. The US and the Brits and the Russians all got together, along with many other countries, and fought off the Nazis, the Japanese, and the kind of smaller countries that were against us. How do the US and the Russians get on these days? They fought against a common enemy, united for years, that tried to exterminate them both. They're not friends. So even if we did put up a fight against an entity from somewhere else and won, does the world all start singing Kumbaya on a monthly basis and get together and go, actually, let's put our differences aside? I don't think so. Vote on doomerfriday.com.
doomerfriday.com/vote. Actually, we should check the doom meter. I want to see what it's up to. But
it's been quite doomy.
We're at 5 right now.
Oh, doom factor 5.
I'm battling my hardest against it, but 5 isn't small. We've got a classified incident right now.
Here we go. This is the doom meter. Doomerfriday.com/vote. You can go there and escalate the doom. We're at doom factor 5, which is a yellow alert. If you want to take it up, we have 17 votes in so far. I'm sorry, 83 votes to raise. I'm going to go ahead and raise it. And let's see if we can get it up to 6.
Can we release the word that is going around now or no?
That's a you question, man.
Right. Yeah, that's up to you.
That's a spicy meatball. You take that.
I mean, it's already going around, because I've been tracking this since last week when I heard a little something was going on. And the initial thought was that, because Ross Coldhart was on News Nation saying that he heard there was a job offer being thrown around, and there was somebody that was already being considered for this job offer. And my initial thought was, hopefully that's Dave Grush. And I was like, because that makes sense. He's the guy who's with Burleson, working as a staffer, pointing people towards the goodies, quote unquote. But after seeing yesterday's event, you know, I started asking again. And initially, I didn't get confirmation as is, but I heard that word was going around that this idea of a disclosure Czar was likely going to be for Lou Elizondo. And I don't know. I don't know what to think of it. That's just like what I think might happen. But I don't know what you guys think about that. Lou being the guy.
Doesn't surprise me. That explains what he's been doing this whole time. It would explain so many things. Like the whole like folksy presentation to Fox News viewers with the hat and the war, you know, all the war shit behind him on the wall. And it's like, hey, I'm one of you guys. I'm just here I want to get the facts. You know, all of this PR that's been happening for all these years. If suddenly
the award makes more sense, right?
What did we say earlier? This is how it goes, man. This doesn't surprise me. I agree with you. It should be Grush, but that's not who they're going to pick.
And what does that mean, though? Like, what type of disclosure do we get if Lou is?
You tell me,
guy?
Pavel.
What do we get?
A reckoning.
Anybody in our chat who wants to call in, let us know if you're cool. We'll
see if the Doom meter spikes after that.
Oh, we went up to 6. We're at Doom condition 6 right now. So there you go, guys.
I don't know, Pavel. I'll ask you. What do you think that would mean? Honestly, what do you think it would mean?
Well, we were talking
is there
about
any more?
it
Is any
earlier.
more? Yeah, I know, but is there any more that you're willing to share? Because I'm not.
Well, it's just that, man. They're trying to cover up for stuff that was done, and that's the only way that they're going to go about it. And if we are complaining here, anybody else who complains, all they're doing is like looking at us straight in the face and go like, tough shit. This is what we're doing. And I don't know. I guess the same plan has been inserted constantly year after year. And whenever it doesn't work, they like reconvene and try to formulate a new way to execute that plan. And it's the same plan from the times of Hillary, from the To the Stars Academy days. I think that, in my opinion, David Grush emerging in 2022, that wasn't in the cards for those people. And I think that Grush, when he came about, he initially probably didn't understand fully what was going on. And he tried to play ball with everybody who was approaching him. But now, and you've seen him make those public statements, now he understands more of what's going on, and he opposes a lot of that. He called out Clapper directly on, I think it was Fox News or with Megyn Kelly. I'm not sure. But I want to know what Grush thinks about this, because he was, I think, opposed to it. And honestly, I thought that it would be him. I didn't think that we were gonna see Lou taking any lead positions anymore. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully it's just a rumor and it's not happening, but I don't know. It feels
well, I
like
guess the question is what would that position entail? What is a disclosure czar tasked with doing, and what teeth does that position come with? Is it actually equipped to make a difference in any meaningful way, or is it merely a symbolic position that looks cool? I mean, these questions are really important, and I think you're right. I think Grush is sort of a wild card. I don't think they saw that coming.
And then Matthew Brown and Dylan Borland also came forward. And
sure.
Man, I've been trying to ask people involved in this to give me an opinion on what is happening to Dylan and what Jeremy and George have been reporting. And I told you a little while ago, I also judge people by what they don't say and by their silence on certain things. And there's a lot of people that don't even acknowledge them. And I think that's a major issue. And that plays into more figures coming into the disclosure, like sort of octagon, you could say, and not being part of that overall plan. And these guys that have this overall plan have been just adjusting as more new people come forward that weren't in the plan, you know. And this is what they're trying to do with and I do applaud them for showing public support for whistleblowers. If had they not done that whole trophy thing and this word about Lou had it not been around in these few days, I think that the event would have been received much with the wider arms, but it wasn't. And
is it not fair to say, and I'm not trying to just be contrarian for the sake of it, but it's
okay though.
Is it fair to say that we don't get to where we're at today without Lou Elizondo?
Yeah.
Like, you don't get here without that.
And he, I mean, he was there alongside Tom DeLonge, because I give Tom DeLonge a lot of credit too. Where is Tom
on all this? Has he made any public statements at all?
No.
Where are you?
No.
Android Paranormal has a super chat here. It says the purpose of the event was to convince Congress, lobbyists, and scientists to take it seriously. Having events is a normal part of the process for any effort to change political direction on any topic. Thank you for the super chat, Android.
That's
great super chat. Great super chat. But also, how many of these events have we had already? And the hearings and the stuff on Capitol Hill and Age of Disclosure, is nothing working that they have to keep doing it? So that argument doesn't wash for me, that we have to keep having these, because all these people are having the conversations with each other constantly.
This is a great one for Richard Dolan, and we should get Richard back on the show. It reminds me of the time the Soviet Union collapsed. Remember when the Soviet Union collapsed?
I don't. I wasn't born.
Yeah, fuck you. But there was a period of perestroika where it was sort of an opening of relations and a relaxing of controls in the Soviet Union that led to the slow and then all of a sudden very fast dissolution of the Soviet Union, which seemed to happen very slowly and then all at once, and it was just over one day. But it was a messy process, and then the aftermath of that took a decade or two to really, it's still playing out. That's how you get Putin. That's how you get the whole current geopolitical setup. And I imagine that dismantling, or maybe what we're seeing is some kind of a controlled demolition of some aspects of the secrecy as a pressure release, but it's going to play out very messy in that same way. It's going to be a lot of meetings, a lot of conversations, a lot of things that don't seem to make sense, that are sort of happening in different, because you're not seeing the full picture. And then eventually one day you'll just look back and go, oh, I don't know when we did it, but somehow we got here and here we are. I think it's going to be
Listen, man,
weird.
If these whistleblower protections do come out through an executive order and people do speak about what they've seen and they touched and all that, I'll shut the fuck up. I promise you. But I don't think that's going to happen.
I think we want to keep hearing from you. I agree with you. I don't like the fact that people are going to walk on things that they shouldn't walk on. But I think I'm past the point where I think it's going to ever be any other way than that.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just content.
Stuff in a minute.
What?
Can I come in on the Elizondo?
Go ahead.
Stuff?
Yeah.
Elizondo would have made sense before 2022 because I think he was the guy. And then Grush coming forward really seems the obvious choice. So unless this was already, in the works, I'm not too sure why it's not Grush. Unless Grush didn't want to do it, there's always that potential. But what is very telling to me, there was a glaring omission in Age of Disclosure, and it was a big David Grush shaped hole He was never a talking head. He never spoke. It was filmed over 3 years. Stratton and Lou are together. I imagine that was filmed early on. As it goes on, Stratton and Lou are never seen together again. So I'm intrigued to see what Stratton says about the whole situation with ATIP, OSAP, and what's happened since in his book when it comes out. There were lots of chat online. Again, I don't do the gossip rumor bollocks stuff, but there was a lot of talk about Stratton and his wife, I believe, Pavel confirmed, being unhappy at things Elizondo had said. This was all out there. I'm not.
There are
stoking fires
Discord
and stuff.
screenshots of that. Yeah.
Yes, there was screenshots of it where she was unhappy about what Lewis said and how he has made his role sound in all of this. So there's a lot of intrigue around that whole relationship, that situation. Grush and Elizondo never seem to be in the same place at the same time. I'm not saying it's a Michael Jackson, LaToya Jackson situation, but with regard to those two, is there a relationship there? Does there have to be? If you think there would be a relationship there between them, at least speaking terms, it just still seems very fractured in a lot of ways. And yeah, Grush for me would be the real obvious pick for many reasons. And I hate to say this, because like I say, back in the day when Lou was doing podcasts and stuff, I met him once, and he's been on the show a few times. The last time was obviously when he was talking about his book, and I'm really intrigued to hear Lou speak again when his next book comes out. I'm sure it'll be back on the podcast circuit. But he had a couple of major missteps, and I mean big time. The reflection thing was really poor, and not just the picture of the irrigation circle, right? But the way he tried to defend it and the Conor McGregor, I'm sorry for not, I'm sorry for, fucking, I'm not apologizing to anyone type thing. It was like, you made a mistake, so come out and own it, instead of basically turning it back on people who called him out on it. So if you're going to have a guy who has blotches on his jotter, then perhaps you need to go for a Grush who right now doesn't have those mistakes in the locker. Again, if your favourite sports team's hiring a coach, do you go for the guy with a clean record, or you go for the guy who's had a couple of big missteps recently? You want the guy with a clean record.
I agree with you, but I think you're proceeding from the assumption that this is a properly done oversight operation that's being put in place.
Effort.
In good faith. And I think instead what you're seeing is a criminal organization from within springing its own people by setting up an official channel for them to come
I wouldn't
forward.
want to go there and start throwing criminal about with people and individuals.
Well, criminal, but whatever you want to call it, that, they've been, wrapped up in this conspiracy, and God only knows who and what we're talking about here. We just know that it's been a cover up for 70 years. People have been killed for it, whatever that means, criminal or not. But
so
the calls are coming from within the house. Like, those are the people who they're planning all this. That's why we've been hearing from them.
It's probably worth pointing out that, let's say, disclosure in some way has to happen. To what degree, we don't know, but let's say disclosure has to happen, partial or not. Do you think the people that are in control of it, that have been in control of the secrets for the last 80 years, are going to say, well, that's it, game over, guys, let's see how the community does this? They are going to control every step of the way. So I think it's reasonable to assume that at least one faction of what we're experiencing, whether it be Grush, Elizondo, or Greer, he's still a guy, albeit a smaller sort of faction at this point. I think
he's done. I think Greer is finished with his...
There's Bledsoe,
role.
All of these guys. I think it's reasonable to assume that at least one of those guys is working from within, as part of the control system that has been part of the control system for this long. The question is, who? I will just say, if I had to put my money on it, and I've never met the guy, I watched Age of Disclosure, and for me, that guy would be Lou Elizondo. And that push, that whole push there, would be from a working from within kind of angle. Now, I don't know that based on any evidence other than Age of Disclosure at this point. But that film was enough for me to say, okay, with the heavyweight hitters that are in this film, the level of Congress and Senate involvement in that film, I would say, okay, if the government is going to push, it'll be from that place. So I don't know. Make of that what you will. But when I made an episode about the Age of Disclosure at the Dreamland Motel, all I said was, we should ask the question, who are the people in this film? Because that was a relatively big budget film for the topic, and it was talking heads and government. And simple as that for me at this point.
Yeah, you're seeing a very deftly executed group of intelligence experts staging a event that appears to be disclosure from the vantage point of where we sit, but is in fact an off-ramp for them to commercialize the technology, put themselves in position to profit from it, get on the, set up the appropriate associations and NGOs, and then get on those boards, and then get out from under the burden of their own secrecy so that they can move on with the thing. And what we're seeing on the outside, how that plays out, is in the form of, I saw this, and I called it from day one with Lou Elizondo, and there's footage of me saying this like a year and a half ago about this guy. Every time he goes on camera, he is a very, very good communicator. It's almost like he's had media training. He's really good. And he's either really good because he's just naturally talented, or he's doing a job. And I think the job he's doing is hearts and minds. And if you look at the guy, when he came out, he sort of appeared on the scene, and he would go on any podcast. It didn't matter how many subscribers they had. If they had 12 subscribers, he would show up and he would give interviews and he would talk to people. And it didn't take long before this whole community started to really get amped up about this Lou Elizondo guy. And I remember when Kurt Jaimungal on Theories of Everything interviewed him, that was really like kind of the breakout moment where it started to get serious about, oh my God, these videos are getting 100,000, 200,000 views. We started to see these big numbers. And every time he would talk, I would notice that his presentation would change based on the group that he was addressing. So if he was on Fox News, I joked about this earlier, but he would have his military, his like Army baseball cap on. He'd have his like American flag in the background. He'd be in his office with all his like military stuff. And he's talking to middle America. He's talking to, Fox News, conservative type viewers. But then he would go on a Joe Rogan, or he'd go, not Joe Rogan, but he'd go on a podcast, another podcast, or he'd go on another show, and he would have a completely different demeanor and a different approach that would be more relaxed. And he'd be drinking a beer. He'd be like, I'm just hanging out with the guys and we're just shooting the breeze. Totally different approach. And I was like, why is he just so out there all the time? Like, what is going on here? Something just feels off about this. I couldn't put my finger on it until this point in the game where it starts to all come together. And you see that, oh, this was a media campaign. This was laying the foundation to build the community. This includes all of us, right? And what do? We get around and we talk about this stuff. Now there's a community. There's support for a movement, for some legislation. There's congressional support. All of that had to be built up and sort of over a period of years. And then we get to the point where we are now, and we may actually get some form of disclosure, but it's going to be very tightly controlled and leveraged, as you guys have pointed out. But Spielberg's movie was probably a part of that. Goosing the public, the zeitgeist a little bit, getting people prepared. Maybe there's nothing in it that is actually true. Maybe that doesn't even matter. The point is there was an alien movie called Disclosure Day to put that term in people's minds. I don't know. I could be overthinking this, but I really think we're seeing the long game play out here. And this is just a long game that started with a Hearts and Minds campaign.
And I do think it's fair to say, Android pointed out that this whole thing is going to be messy no matter what, most likely. I get it. But the whole point for me is, what's the actual end goal? Is it full unadulterated truth? Is it all the truth that the public can handle, or is it truth in the service of power? And right now I don't know where that really lands based on the trajectory of what we're getting. And maybe it's because I'm too hot and I'm grouchy, but right now I don't feel good about the place where it's currently heading.
See on the Elizondo stuff. Sorry, Kurt. Sorry, Clint. Did you want to come in there?
No, please go ahead.
I just want to say, because I don't know, like I say, the big issues, Elizondo done a hell of a lot, and you said it yourself, Clint. We're here today because of what Elizondo and that group started. So then you can't say he's completely anti-disclosure and a psyop and blah, blah, blah. But I know there's such a split in the camp now of folks who support Elizondo and what he's done, but also there's the counter-intel guy, etc. You see all the comments in the chat here. So I don't know where I fall down on it. Mainly because of the irrigation circle stuff and the reflection. No one in Lou himself can really. Those were, like I say, big issues for me, both of those moments. However, what you're saying about Lou and going back to 2020 when he started going on podcasts, like he came on mine really early on, and that was a huge deal for me, as I'm sure it was a lot of folks. Like early on, I had Lou and I had Nap that was massive names, and Nap particularly gave me a huge kind of bump in the community that I'm really grateful for. But when it comes to the Elizondo working of the crowd, is that necessarily a bad thing? That he has played to different audiences, communicated differently with different audiences, been able to get this story out there to the masses, that people who aren't as in tune as maybe the folks who listen to or watch this. Elizondo's a huge name in this topic. His book was a New York Times bestseller. Sure. My book, Over My Shoulder, wasn't. Just want to get that in there, folks, but could still be. However, his message has went around the world. He is one of, thanks, Xander, he is one of the biggest names now in this conversation. So he's got us to a point. Now, whether something happened along the way or not is totally up for debate. And I can see folks like yourself, Clint, having that conversation. I'd love to know Pavel's thoughts on it too. I get Gerb has said before he's got some issues with Elizondo, and he's mentioned these. So it's a really strange playing field right now. And to say that right now, I'm a big fan of what Grush has done, but that's not to say it's like the Batman movies, was Alfred said to Batman, you either die the hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. That's probably the case in the UFO topic too. In a couple of years, we'll be sitting here going, Grush, when did they get to him? Because that's just what happens.
I want to be clear that I'm not shitting on Lou when I make the observation and I present that hypothesis. I'm not making that because I'm saying like this guy's running a psyop on all of us. I am saying that what they're doing worked. That's what it looks like to me. I'm looking at it as a media campaign to build public awareness and generate support from a grassroots level. This is what Special Forces does. This is what psyops actually do in conflicts. When we go into another country, the first thing we do is we start getting into their heads and convincing them not to fight. And maybe they should just give it all up and, just give some information to us and everything's going to be fine. We could save a lot of lives that way. It's psyops. So in the sense that there is a campaign to influence public opinion and a media campaign, yes, I do believe that's happening. Do I say, is that necessarily bad? I don't know. And I can't say that I would paint him as a villain for participating in it, but whatever they're doing it's working, it's successful, and look at where we are. So if we get disclosure, I'm going to probably be okay with that. And I don't know that I even have a problem with the defense argument. I feel like I expect that at this point. So, we're going to get to wherever we get to. It's just at this point, we're just commentating on whatever happens. So that's just what I see.
For the record as well, I actually do think, even if I was right, I'm under the impression that Lou does want disclosure. It's just to what end? For what specific purpose? I don't know. Maybe it's exactly the same purpose, but he also has considerably more knowledge than I on the topic, so he has considerably more concerns. Yeah. And maybe they're valid. I have no idea whatsoever. But see, the disclosure forum, this is the kind of conversation I want to see on a stage.
You are seeing it on this is our stage, man. It's where we do it.
Rather than giving out awards, how about we have this conversation with those guys on stage so that they can defend themselves? I would love for Lou to be able to defend himself with these sort of questions, because I think that's fair.
You know,
I
what's
want
interesting?
Grush to ask the questions to Lou directly.
Yeah.
Well,
Why
A
not?
table with both of them, maybe Gerb too. You know,
You know, I don't think it's as black and white as like, I don't think we're going to get like a good guy and a bad guy conflict that resolves in some way that's going to satisfy people. I think it's, you know, you've got intelligence people that are running an operation to get this information out in a controlled way. That's what they do. It's what they're trained to do. It's what it looks like from the outside. It's what it appears to be from within. You know, I'm just calling it like I see it. And if at the end we get to disclosure, I have to be honest, every time I've heard Lou present his case in just straightforward terms, it lands with me. You know, and what does he say? He goes, well, you lock your doors at night, don't you? You know, it's you feel safe in your neighborhood, but you don't feel safe all the time. You don't leave your doors unlocked. You don't leave your windows open. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there that we're not necessarily prepared for. And maybe we should start thinking about that. I don't see anything wrong with that argument.
you know, I think it goes a little beyond Lou. Lou is like represents what I think might be happening, which is the reason Trump is now being a little more open about this after being pressured by people from Congress and Luna specifically, is also because Trump has a good relationship with Elon and Vance has a great relationship with Peter Thiel. And those guys also need to be accounted for in this whole thing. And I think Lou is a symptom of that type of disclosure that may happen. And I'm pretty sure that people like Grush, people like Matt, people like Dylan can see that, obviously. And I know that probably they have to play ball, and eventually I think they will. But you know, I don't think they necessarily agree with this that is playing out before their eyes and our eyes.
I agree with what you said earlier about there's just different groups that have different motives, and there are some people who are, you know, doing it for love of the game, and there are some people doing it because they need to protect their ass, and they're doing it other people for other reasons.
Grants.
But what you're seeing is a crumbling or a collapsing of a system that was unstable to begin with and impossible to maintain forever. And sooner or later it was going to break. And maybe this is a controlled demolition to just make it happen in a way that they can control. I don't want to but I know we're still in the middle of this conversation, but I do want to talk about the Batista thing before we wrap up, and we're towards the end of the show here.
Right before we finish, I think after all of the complexity that we've just spent the last hour talking about, it makes me just feel like, okay, let's just watch what happens. Let's see if we get the picture or the video that we're all waiting to see, and then we just go with it one step at a time, which is kind of what we said before we started streaming, is that we should just, you know, is the next step forward too far in the wrong direction, or is it all still pointed in the right direction for the time being? And maybe we're just being a little bit too cautious about maybe us veering into that disclosure of control versus the disclosure of the liberation of mankind, if you want to call it that. Maybe we're a bit preemptive, and there's a few more steps that could happen. Maybe we could get a form of disclosure first before we reach a point where we have to decide whether we want to be controlled to an increased degree, or whether we want to try and fight back a little bit. I don't know where that point is, but maybe there's still a point where we could get some great evidence, and
we might
maybe
be
that's what
standing
we should focus
on the beach cheerleading the Spanish as their ships come closer and closer to shore, not realizing that they're going to give us all disease and we're all going to die. You know, like, come, you know, liberate us and come save us with your, oh my gosh, look at these ships. Look, they're on horseback. Oh my God.
Look at these gods. Oh my God.
They have guns. Oh my God. It makes a cloud and a thunderclap, and it's amazing. And then that guy just died. What happened? We might be that. And, you know, and we might just be ignorant to how nasty it actually is. You know, Mike Batista knows. He's a psionic asset who's been working hard behind the scenes to summon craft and beings. And
Have you got the video prepped for this?
No, I don't. I was hoping you
find
did.
it. I'll find
I'm
it.
sorry. But he posted this video that was supposedly recorded in Florida, somewhere at a remote location in Florida, where his team was out on a field op.
Yeah, Boca Raton.
Mouth rat. Yeah. Mouth rat, Florida. Field operation out in the Florida swamps, which is really miserable this time of year. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody.
It's on Billy Kryzak's X account, that video. That's the best version.
It's the version that's very... those contrasts have been played with quite heavily.
So
Never mind I said anything then.
No. We should show both, I think.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
think I've seen this.
you haven't seen it? Oh,
Boy, you in for a
You'll,
treat. Oh,
you'll
you're in the
probably
wrong
be
thing.
disappointed. I'm just telling you ahead of time.
I'm always disappointed.
I know. You're Scottish. I know.
Perpetually disappointed.
I know.
All right. So we have... I will play Batista's thing first.
I like his dramatic setup. Can we get
Yeah,
this? Yeah,
yeah.
this is really
I
good.
like it too.
Being suspended within
Oh, I
Like
have
Batista
seen
here.
this.
the footage you're about to watch contains documented evidence of an interdimensional being suspended within a plasma type orb. This footage was captured by the psionic asset team while conducting a field operation in a remote location of Florida. Billy Kryzak will be doing a full analysis on this video and more details to follow.
Okay.
You can full screen that one though.
Do we
That's it.
really need to?
Let's do it. Enhance.
Batista.
I'll full screen the next one.
The footage you're about to watch
Okay.
The footage you're about to watch. That just looks like
This is the enhanced one, right?
somebody holding a
or is it
flashlight.
Spiderweb? Yeah.
Is
So
it?
apparently that was taken on a field, right above a field, a couple 100 yards away. That's what they say.
Then they should know better, with no context, nothing in the background to give you any depth perception, no sky to look at. Horrendous video, because the most basic investigators always tell you, try and get anything you can to give you a point of reference. That's an utter disgrace.
A
to bother
car, a
posting that
tree.
online.
Exactly what I
something.
said.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. What was the first one that they put out another one on Ross's show a
Oh,
couple months
God.
back? Do you have that one?
I mean, I could just Google the word pixel and we could just show that image.
hang on. I think
It'd
I
be
think I've got
fine.
it. Hold on. I think I got it right here. Okay, so it was here we go.
That could well be just a reflection from the water. That is just like
So,
it's like a Rorschach test, you know?
There's the first one.
that was the first one.
I feel bad. Like again, I'm grouchy, but
You
This
know the
is not
movie
evidence.
The Room. You know the
Say
movie The
again?
Room,
yeah,
the worst movie ever made. Someone's
Yeah.
compared Mike Batista to the dude from The Room, going, "I did not hit her. I did not." Oh, hi, Mark. The way he's
hi,
standing
Mark.
doing his chat. So, yeah, if you know, you know.
Here's the actual. I was just bullshitting around, but wait, here we go. Ah, all right, too many cooks.
It's two black dots for eyes. It looks like a sort of a dot for the mouth, and it's a long ovaloid head and face.
And it almost looked as surprised to see me as I was to it. So,
Oh, really?
Now, Mike, in that freeze and zoom, you see
Is that a
it
Pac-Man
looks
villain?
like
Space
some
Invaders.
kind of translucent white-blue face, but it's not a human face. It's two black dots for eyes.
Yep.
Let him talk over the
help.
Moonanites.
I'm sorry, but that does not help this level of conversation.
It doesn't.
See,
It
like
doesn't.
that does not help the UFO topic. And if you're watching this or listening to this, and you saw that picture and you think that's something non-human, I hope to God you're right. But the problem for me is people, and I love what Ross has done for this subject, but you platform that and you don't call it out as, but that could be literally anything.
Yeah.
That does not help the topic with the 99.9% of the public we're trying to get on board at all.
I agree.
For the let's say this. I'm not going to say that it's a hoax, but let's say it's something that Batista filmed that he truly believes is really there, and all of this. I have a number of questions. Number one, and these may have legitimate answers. Why, if he called in this craft psionically, why does this being appear to be standing at some sort of console, as they called it? They called it a console. If this craft is being piloted and manipulated by psionic means, why is this creature standing at something that you would press buttons on? Why does the creature not move a single inch the entire video? It doesn't turn its head. This is in the video. It's a static object. It's whatever this is. Why does the video appear to be being shot like through shimmering like leaves? To me it looks like leaves or like a spider web or something like that.
Oh, that's the original. Yeah, this
No, this is the latest one.
Yeah, I wanted to show it. Hang on, sorry, I got the wrong.
I've got it.
Not the moon.
This is not it. I'll just play it on loop.
That just looks like someone standing in the woods pointing a flashlight at you.
Yeah, that looks to me like things are swaying back. Leaves are swaying back and forth. You can see it on like the right-hand side of the light. There's something just swaying back and forth in the wind to me. So I want to know, like, what was this shot through? Why is there a light coming from the middle? I don't understand why there would be a light coming from this being's chest or console or something. Like, I hate to shit on this stuff. I really do, because I want this to be real, but
I don't
there's just
hate it.
Nothing here.
Fuck this. This is awful, and this is stupid. Why is Ross even entertaining this shit on News Nation? And we need to have higher standards as a community for what we accept and what we just call bullshit on, and this is clearly bullshit.
I don't mind watching it, but I just question the people that say,
like, what the fuck, man?
Well, this case closed, guys. Like,
if you brought this to me, if I'm at News Nation and you show up with this shit and you're like, you want to go on TV with this? You want me to put you on my show and I'm supposed to talk through whatever the fuck this is? Get out of here. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. And to do it twice, the first one was so fucking awful. I can't believe that he tried this again. And then with this, it's like, dude, you better come with some serious footage the second time around. After this, who can take you seriously?
Fake or not, Mr. Immaculate came with better shit than this.
Well,
remember him?
I mean, that's my point. We're in a world now where you can make photorealistic whatever you want, and HD video, completely believable. So you're going to have to come with better footage than this. Like, I'm not asking for it to be fake. I'm just saying, like, the bar is so much higher. It's at least what Andy said. Have a tree or a point of reference. Show us the site a little bit. Walk around. Let me see where your car is.
Yeah.
Show me how many yards away or meters that is.
I would almost take it more seriously if he didn't show this and just told the story.
Come out the next day when it's daylight and walk the site again and say, this is where the object was. Take a radiation reading of that area. Fucking walk around it with some equipment. Gather some data. You were out in Florida in the middle of nowhere. You got this being to come down to ground level and hover there, and it lit up the night like this, and you're telling me, what did you do? You just left? Like, come on, man. I'm not buying it.
I think that's a freeze frame on what is supposedly the clearest part, where you can see a head and the console, but again, like,
no, you can't.
You can't.
It's another Bijou situation, right?
Yeah. What's the point in the light? What's the point in the console? Why does nothing move throughout the entire video? Somebody on X even said they could see other beings walking alongside it. And
I have
no idea what you're talking about there.
You got to draw the line somewhere with this stuff, and you have to just be willing to say, look, Green Beret or not, this is bullshit, and I'm not going to sit here and watch it. I don't have the time for it.
I genuinely feel bad because I've heard that Batista is the nicest guy, and I've never spoke to him, and I'm not saying he's making this up, but you have to accept that even if this did happen and you saw a much better thing than we are
Mike
watching
Batista,
right now.
if you're watching, I'm in Florida. I will go with you to wherever. Just call me. We'll set it up, and I'll go out there, and you show me. And if I'm wrong, then I'll eat it. But there you go.
And if they have metadata and all that kind of stuff you've mentioned, Clint,
that's important.
Great. And you know what? I would, again, I'm sure I speak for all of us when I say I would love this to be genuinely real and wow. But given what it is, and like I say, with zero reference to anything round about it, it's just fuel for skeptics and debunkers. No, because skeptics isn't fair. It's fuel for debunkers to look at and go, this is ridiculous. And your average member of the public will look at that and go, that's just a random light. Yeah. Same when you get people putting videos online, a Starlink, and they go, wow, look at this orb being chased through the sky.
I have a guy who cuts my hair every so often, and he's really into this stuff, but not, albeit not quite so educated. I wouldn't show him this video.
No,
because it would just serve no purpose. He would just be like, "What is that?" What?
Well, now check this out. This is just one last thing before we wrap up, because I know we've all got to get on with our day here. But I want to share this one website. This popped up on, I think it was on UFOB. And this website called the Xenologist. Have you guys seen this? Mega dump of UFO images. And so these, now I don't know if these are real or not, but this is supposedly a mega dump of all these different photos. Now in here is some garbage, but there's some really cool stuff in here as well. I mean, if you look at now we know some of these are legit. Like this cigar one for sure. There's the lake coat photo somewhere. I don't see it in here. This, I don't know.
That's from a movie.
That's from a
movie. Yeah.
John Stewart loved that image.
This one I've seen, this video is a real video shot on VHS, and I've seen this craft do this. This is a still frame from the longer video, and it's crazy. That could be anything. Okay, here we go. Of course, that
old chestnut.
The thing is that pretty much everything here could already be faked by AI.
Yeah.
Could, but some of these are older. You know, some of these we've seen before. These are not all brand new. Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, if this is stuff collected over the last 2, 3, 4 decades, if you're going to show up with pixelated video, that's from the X-Files. That picture right there is a still frame from the X-Files. But some of this, I mean, look at the old photos that we have from the 40s and 50s and 60s and how good they are. So yeah, I don't know about this.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but come on.
What do you think about this one?
It's a movie prop.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Alien getting a manicure.
Yeah. Anyway, xenologist.com. This was the mega dump. It had a ton of upvotes, and so I wanted to pull it up to show.
But I think we should probably say, like, I'm in support of efforts like this. If you want to go out into the desert and try and call this stuff in, if you believe that's possible, I don't know if I believe it or not. I've never seen it done, so I wouldn't know. I'd like, as Andy says, I'd like to believe this stuff, but you do have to come with. I wouldn't. And even
how much does it cost to go on the trip? Do people pay to go?
Yeah.
How much does it cost?
Do these guys take night vision?
There's a price tier on the Psionic Acid website.
Okay, let's see. Psionic Acid. What is their website?
I'm not sure if it's .com or .org. I'm not sure, but it's Psionic Acid.
Do these guys take night vision with them? You'd have thought they would.
I would guess. They're military. They should
put this on night vision. It's a question it's a really obvious, boring question that should have a very mundane answer.
Okay.
And it's a question that needs to be asked.
Here we go. All right, I'm on the website, and it says, a field experience Mike Batista offers is not a novelty. It is not a night out under the stars with a flashlight and a hopeful heart. It is structured, disciplined, repeatable field training in psionic perception and human-initiated contact, built on a methodology refined across hundreds of documented field encounters with UAP phenomena. If you are ready to stop watching from the outside and start working from the inside, this is where that begins. A psionic asset field experience is guided. A small group field session led by Mike Batista in a real-world research environment. Participants are trained in the same structured perception protocols Mike has developed and tested over years of active field work. Protocols designed not for entertainment, but for results. Every session is documented. Every observation is examined. Some attempts succeed, others do not, but every effort produces data, and every participant leaves with a framework for continuing this work on their own. Apply to join us. So you have to apply. I don't see prices anywhere.
Maybe it's free.
Maybe it's free. What I'm getting at is, if you paid, let's say it's $1,000. If you paid $1,000 and you went out and you were out in the middle of the swampy Florida outback all night, getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, and that's what you saw, how would you feel?
Depends how much I paid.
$1,000.
No.
I'm just picking a number.
And had the context of where it was, what was around it, and all that kind of stuff, I would also ask, is that someone with a flashlight? Because it's not going to look like that to the naked eye. That's clearly an image that's like zoomed in, so you can see a bit of the glow and blur. It's not going to look like that to the eye, so I think you'd see something very, very different.
I think my question would be, if it were me and I had paid us whatever amount of money to go there, but let's just call it $1,000, and you're there, and then you see the light off in the distance. I'm going to want to know, is it a drone? Is it another one of your guys off there, that just walked up out of the woods with a flashlight on a stick and stuck it up in the sky? I'm going to need to know. And so I would have my own night vision. I'd want to be, I'd want to shoot my own video, and I would want to, and I think that you're right. You're asking the right question. Like, what is this experience? Because we know that Bledsoe is now charging tickets to go out and teach people how to do psionic, summoning of orbs or whatever. And I think the price I heard was in the $3,000 range.
Yeah. If people want to use my link, I'll get in there before Xander.
Son of a bitch.
And that's fine. If somebody wants to charge money to go out in the woods and say that's what they're doing, that's fine. And people can pay that. And that's the free market, whatever. But if I'm going to sit here and look at that video, I got to call bullshit on that until I see something more impressive.
Same.
But you got to call at least that's not evidence.
I don't know what it is.
It doesn't even meet the qualification for evidence. You don't even have to go as far as saying this evidence is a hoax, because it's just not evidence as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know what.
Would you be pissed if they release like a proper video analysis on Gaia?
On Gaia, yeah. The fact it's on Gaia is an issue for me.
Yeah,
it wouldn't even matter.
I think that's probably what's going to happen.
I'm so grumpy. I feel bad because I don't want to be the skeptic, but come on, this isn't useful at all.
It's very hot, Xander, as well.
It's very hot.
You don't want to be the skeptic, but at the same time, you want to be at least a little street smart about how you approach this stuff. You have to be. There's no other way around it. There's just too much horseshit in this whole subject to not have some kind of discernment about what it is you're looking at. And when it's so blatantly, obviously not any kind of evidence at all, platforming it, to Andy's point earlier, just makes no sense. It makes the whole movement look weird. It makes all of us look goofy. It makes Neil deGrasse Tyson giddy with glee. He gets to go point to that and be like, I don't know, show me the aliens, Oh, and then they show this little pixel. Yeah. Right. So it's like, I don't know what we're trying to do here, but it's not helping anybody. And pretending like it's not, horseshit.
In the service,
it's not helping anyone either.
In the service of optimism, like it's just gonna lead nowhere.
I can see Dan Cleary in the chat, and I'm sure he's saying he's a big fan of the video and thinks it's legit. So, yeah.
Why is Dan not? Dan, where are you? Why are you not here? Are you?
I think he's playing Madden with Keanu Reeves.
He's playing Madden with Keanu again.
Oh shit!
All right, so
name drop.
All right, guys. I think that's it for us today. We're gonna wrap it there. It's almost 20 after 4, but it was a great show, man. This is a really good conversation. I really enjoyed it.
As I said, I think these are the conversations that need to happen on those stages that we've been experiencing the last week. Like, it needs to be in, not necessarily us. I'm not saying hire us, but like let's ask the slightly more difficult and uncomfortable questions. I think it's fine, and ask it with those people present.
Hire
because
us. We'll go
there's no problem with holding people's feet to the fire, and that's what happened with Kurt Jamungle and Greer. Like he and Kurt, for I don't know why he's gotten out of the topic, but at least he had the balls to, when he was faced with the opportunity, he just went straight in on Greer, and Greer did not like that, and that really shined a very important light on people like Greer.
And Dan Setterstrom did the same thing as well, right? He also had an exchange with Greer. Oh, he was on that, yeah.
Yeah,
and that's a sign. That's a red flag. That's you finding out that they are full of shit, at least some of the time. I'm not saying everything Greer says is bullshit, but some of what he says is horseshit, and that is true. Like, I just don't buy it. And so to call it out, I think that there is a fine line between, being discerning about what you're looking at and who you're talking to and what they're saying, and listening with a critical mind and asking questions and picking apart the argument that they're making and trying to see if there's any real substance beneath it there, and then being a complete, skeptic / debunker. It's easy to tip from one into the other, but it is possible to walk that line. And I think that's how we elevate the conversation. We try to get it there. Sorry, Andy, go ahead.
No, I interrupted you, sorry. What's going to be interesting is we are in an age where a lot of these names, and I don't mean this in a morbid way, but they're not getting younger. You've got a lot of these folks who are in their 70s and 80s and 90s, and they're not going to be around forever. So we're in a time where you've got a whole new generation of folks coming through to take those places. Some good, some bad, some may be good, then they'll change as it goes along, proper Anakin Skywalker style. But I think that's where it's important, I think, for folks like us, scumbag podcasters. Pavel, you probably refer to yourself as a journalist, but I think it's important to be able to comment and help people through the UFO landscape over the years, over the decades, and as these names transition in and out of the topic, be able to say, this is where we were, this is what X said, they are no longer part of that conversation, this is who is now taking those places, and see how that conversation evolves and changes over the years. So it's a kind of interesting phase, I think, of ufology where we're still in a crossover period where so many of the folks, like a Jacques Vallée, who done the work through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the noughties, you've now got your Gerbs coming through.
Irma Gerb.
So, you know what I mean? So, again, you've got
Name
these
drop.
guys that, guys, girls, and everything in between that are kind of taking these mantles up. And I think it's important to kind of platform the right ones and, help people through that. So, interesting times.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's one of the most exciting things about being a scumbag podcaster is the fact that we do get to participate in this moment. It is, I mean, and no matter how it turns out, what it shakes out to be, as messy as it probably will be going through it, it's a cultural moment, and it's the most punk rock shit ever. I mean, this is it. This is the big one, and we're living through it. So it is amazing to be here and to be able to meet you guys and become friends with all the amazing people in our community and to just be a part of this. Who knows what happens next, but it's a crazy fucking ride. I'm really enjoying it. On that note, Xander, is there anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Why me?
I don't know. You didn't say anything for a minute.
I never shut up. That's my problem. I guess the last thing I would say is the point of holding someone's feet to the fire is to give them the opportunity to provide the context that the rest of us need. So maybe if Mike was here and he was of the right mind, he would say, look guys, yeah, I'm sorry, the video is dog shit, but let me explain how it was being there in person and seeing this, so that we can get that context, rather than the 20-second clip that he put on X that it did not show an interdimensional being, despite what you would like to say in the intro. It didn't show that. The video didn't show that. The reality that might have been, but the video didn't show it.
We should point out, I think it's worth mentioning too, that Dan's not here, or he would probably bring this up, but there was some mention from some people who were at Contact of the Desert that they had successfully, achieved some kind of contact with a craft out in the desert or something. And we know categorically that was complete horseshit. Yeah. And that's just a fact. Like, we know that this group is for sure 100%. And yet they're out there saying, so, how many times do you give someone an opportunity to, undo that or to make amends, or, at some point you just have to move on and focus on other things too. So I just think it's important to keep in context that we do occasionally find out when people are trying to pull the wool over our eyes.
It's very true.
It does happen. So with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap it there. Thanks to Andy, our returning champion, for joining us again this week from That UFO Podcast, of course, one of our favorite podcasts. And you should go there and subscribe and listen to it. And also go to Dreamland Motel, Xander's channel, and subscribe there. You can fall asleep to the soothing sounds of Xander Jones and the amazing music, which is going to play us out here. And one last thing, go to Psychoactivo's channel, of course, subscribe there. You don't have to go pay $3,000 to go look at orbs with Chris Bledsoe, or even whatever it costs to go out into the woods with Batista to look for orbs. But if you do want to throw some money around, you can go to teamnightshift.com and you can support us that way. It's what makes these conversations possible. You can go there and get some Night Shift coffee. You throw in a few bucks every month and support the show, and we send you a bag of freshly roasted coffee every month. It's a beautiful thing, and it's the easiest way to support the show. So that's my plug. Thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you again next week. Keep looking up.